Hey, what's happening, folks? DFS 5-pack here. Obviously, no DFS to really talk about, but we'll just get back into more sports discussions. Just keep the wheels turning, keep the minds fresh, keep thinking about sports. Gives us something to do, and for those of you guys who are actually watching these, we appreciate it, but also probably as desperate for entertainment as we are.
Yeah, it keeps me away from the wife for a few hours, which I know,
She probably loves.
and I love it too. So yes, it's a love from all the way around, and gets me talking to you, and I miss you. So yeah, man, I can't wait for DFS to be back because it's just going to be really fun. Like you never really know how much you love something until it's gone, right? And man, I miss making videos. I miss the research. I miss the grind of it.
Uh, the structure, the entertainment, like something to look forward to, like at night and stuff like that. Like stay with the kids at their mom's house. Like I could just not wake up today and really nothing would happen. And like that
Yeah,
is kind of like I get why some men especially struggle with retirement. Like there just isn't nothing to do, but at least then you can go outside and you can have hobbies. Like if you love playing golf or something like that or fishing, you could do those things a little bit easier. I know golf courses are kind of opening back up. It's just you also don't have money coming in, so you don't really want to spend money
right.
golfing. It's a weird time, man.
Yeah, and like sports is huge, man. I mean, even without DFS, like I miss sports. I mean, I was a huge sports fan before DFS. If anything ever happens to DFS, I'll still be a huge sports fan. Yeah, definitely missing it. Happy to talk sports with you for a little bit here, though.
Exactly. And some of these questions will start to get weird because we've covered everything else already, so we got to get a little weird with it. In the meantime, though, guys, subscribe to the station if you happen to be new to it. Thumbs up is always appreciated. So, framing this question, again, I want to reiterate, this is of our lifetime. If you're catching this for the first time, like Gale Sayers won't be on anybody's top 5 right here because he was before our time. For me, I cut it off after Lawrence Taylor because I know Lawrence Taylor is arguably the greatest defensive player of all time. But honestly, like I can't remember watching him play in the slightest, so I didn't personally
I
include him.
really, I really agree. Just to piggyback off that, I kept it like 90s and beyond.
Yeah, man, because you're a few years younger than I am. Like I can remember watching football in the late 80s, but let's not talk like I remember watching Walter Payton in the Bears Packers, but I can't sit here and talk about any like detail about Walter Payton. I know he's great, but I don't remember any of his heyday.
Well, for me, like Deion Sanders, like or not Deion Sanders, Barry Sanders, like was in consideration for me, but like there was no way I was going to have a running back on my list.
Exactly.
So,
You want to go first or second?
um, you go first today.
Okay, so when putting this together, positions make a difference. Obviously, you're going to include a quarterback because depending on how you look at this, like you don't know when your next pick is going to be, so you want to include a quarterback. But outside of that, I went like full defensive heavy. And what I mean by that is 4 of my 5 guys are defense. And I look at this, if you can't score on me, and as long as I got a quarterback, I'm going to be able to score once or twice a game. So you mentioned him already. I'm going to take the top cover corner of all time, who also gives me my return guy with Deion Sanders, prime time. He's electric. He gets you excited, momentum. He's the best cover corner we've ever seen. Adds it in the return game. Pick six extraordinaire. Plus, he's fun to watch. So Deion Sanders. Then I wanted to double up on pass rushers, so I decided I was going to roll with a 4-3 defense. I went with a Green Bay Packers / Eagles / technically a Carolina Panther, the Minister of Defense, Reggie White, and then I followed it up by going on the other end with Bruce Smith as well. This way, you can't double team either of these guys. You're leaving either Bruce Smith, Reggie White on a one-on-one every single time you drop back to pass. So I got Reggie White and Bruce Smith coming off the ends. And then I thought about our conversation yesterday, and I wanted another defensive leader. I've got Deion taking your best receiver out of the game. I got the pass rush with Reggie White and Bruce Smith. And now I got Ray Lewis in the middle, cleaning it all up. Have fun trying to score points on this defense. And then I got into the quarterback. And I honestly, we've had this conversation a lot of times. And I'm like, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, John Elway. I get the conversations for all of them. But when it came down to it, because of my defense, I wanted a quarterback that doesn't throw interceptions. So I immediately thought of my boy Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. And because it's a hypothetical argument, I'm just going to take my boy Aaron Rodgers because, well, why not? It's more fun for me that way.
For sure, I get that. only have one of the same player, and not that shocked by it.
Yeah, football's a deep sport with a lot of years to go through.
Yeah, I also I thought about, so I built my team just a little bit differently. First off, the one critique I would have for yours, and the one guy that I first almost needed to have, was a stud offensive tackle. So the first guy that I put on my team was Orlando Pace.
I thought about going with him or Ogden.
Yeah, I mean, either one of them, both of them.
Defensive heavy.
Yep. Yeah, I get that. So kind of to counter your defensive heaviness, I'm going to go with the best tackle maybe ever, the best tackle of my generation. Fun fact, I once saw him in a downtown Cleveland mall eating a 20-piece McNugget with a barbecue sauce for each different nugget. He was a big man. I swear to God that happened. So he was the first guy I went with. Then at quarterback, you can't really go wrong here. So prisoner of the moment, I went with Mahomes just because I love what he's doing right now. The other guys I thought about were Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, all the names that you think about when you talk about best quarterbacks.
We agree, though, you definitely want a quarterback. And I can completely get anybody's argument here for Mahomes, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Joe Montana, you name it.
For sure. I agreed wholeheartedly there. It doesn't really matter which one you pick, although I was surprised you didn't even think about or bring up Mahomes there. Why not?
Give me another year or two of him. Honestly, I have no arguments with you on Patrick Mahomes. I think he's amazing. Again, it's a very subjective argument on which quarterback you want to go through. We've talked about this long and hard, and it reminds me of the starting pitcher conversation from yesterday. Whether you're going with Pedro Martinez or Randy Johnson or Greg Maddux, who the better one is a very arguable point, and it's kind of a matter of opinion in a lot of ways.
Agreed. All right, so the next two are different from yours, although one of them is the same position. So, again, I didn't take the stud DN. I wanted one, but you can't take them all, right? You can only take 5 positions. I wanted the stud DN. Let me just preface this. But I also really wanted Randy Moss on my team. So I put Randy Moss on there, and I know you have a stud corner in Deion Sanders, but Mahomes, Randy Moss is a pretty lethal combo. I don't care who's out there playing cornerback. Would be a great matchup that I'd love to see. And then speaking of cornerbacks, I also went with a cornerback, but I did not go with Deion Sanders, who I thought about hard, who I think is probably regarded as the best quarterback ever. And you're right, he does bring that entertainment, that flash, but sometimes you don't want that. With a quarterback, maybe you just want a steady guy, and the guy that I love.
So you took Revis?
I did not take Revis. Champ Bailey.
Bailey, okay.
I like Champ Bailey. I love Champ Bailey. Clearly, he's on my team. And just to give you a couple of numbers, career interceptions, Deion Sanders 53, Champ Bailey 52. Career tackles, Deion Sanders 493, Champ Bailey 812. Just a much more physical corner. I'm not going to say he was the cover corner that Deion was, but he was damn close and much more physical. I'm a big Champ Bailey fan, clearly, and I love my squad.
He's really good. Also, numbers on corners are really tough to
for sure
give you any kind of breakdown into who they were, because they don't get thrown at sometimes, and interceptions. Some of the best cornerback seasons we've ever seen, they don't get picked because nobody throws in their direction.
For sure. I think it does say something, though, that they have basically the exact same amount of interceptions, though, and, basically double the tackles, because Champ Bailey was, it's not like teams picked on Champ Bailey and threw at him all the time, The
other thing with Deion was the return game, but it's what era are you playing in? Because this era, returns don't matter because you never get them anymore.
I thought about Deion hard, and Deion would be, I thought he was just a, not the easy answer, but kind of the easy answer there. I kind of wanted to put some argument sake into it. I'm a big Champ Bailey fan. This was a chance to get him in. I kind of wanted to hear your take on that.
Yeah, Champ's great. We've talked about this before. Let's not pretend without access to the game film and going back and breaking it down, we're really capable of telling you who the better cover corner was. Unless you have the film and the ability to sit down and watch every single play, it's rather subjective. These guys are both great.
Revis, I feel like his peak was maybe just as good as them, but it didn't last long enough.
Yeah, that's fair. So yours was Moss, Mahomes, Champ,
Ray Lewis, and Orlando Pace.
Okay. So you went a little offensive heavier than I did. I'm still thinking of the defense wins championships in my mind. I'm you can't score. I think a stud quarterback does enough to get me some points.
I get that.
All right, let's move on down the list. Next up, you said you went a little nuts on this one, and we got a bunch of list of different three-man combinations of baseball players and who you would start your list with. I'll read them off for those of you who aren't following along visually and just listening. Acuna, Lindor, Flaherty, Tatis, Trout, Giolito, Yelich, Suarez, Castillo, Arenado, Betts, Corbin, Bellinger, Gleyber Torres, Aaron Nola, Devers, Soto, Buehler, Altuve, Realmuto, DeGrom. Obviously, these are all studs all the way across the board. I went with the first one. I wanted to think, like, who's the best pitcher on here? And the best pitcher is DeGrom. I also think he deals with the weakest offensive guys right there. I think Ronald Acuna, I get a shortstop in Francisco Lindor. So I got, the offense is as good as anybody up there. And then I'm just a big Jack Flaherty guy. And I was thinking about Buehler, Devers, Soto as well. But I think the name Walker Buehler is bigger than Jack Flaherty. But these guys are like the same age. And from what I've watched, there's no reason for me to believe Walker Buehler is better than Jack Flaherty.
I'm like cheesing at this question because I love these type of questions and I love talking about baseball. I also went with number one, which kind of disappoints me that we picked the same one. And I think the biggest thing that I regret doing here is I should have switched Acuna with someone else. Like, even if it was just like Soto, the Acuna Lindor combo is just too good. Especially when you have a really good pitcher like Flaherty. The Acuna Lindor combo is similar to the Arenado Betts, but like a better pitcher. So I'm with you.
Yeah. I mean, I also didn't know if we were like planning this thing out way for the future, but Lindor, Acuna, and Flaherty are all so young. Like, I don't know if Lindor is going to get any better because we've seen him for like 5 years now, and we know how great he is, and he plays an important position. But I mean, even if this is his peak, I'm good with that. And Acuna could legitimately be the best player in baseball.
Yeah, all these like trios are really good though. I mean, Yelich, Suarez, Castillo is awesome.
Funny was the only one I never really considered was the one with the most established best pitcher in Jacob deGrom.
Really?
Yeah, because I like Realmuto. I don't know if I like him as much as I like some of these other guys like Yelich, Suarez, or Arenado Betts or anything like that.
There was one actually that was left off here. God, maybe I didn't put it on that thing, but I'll read it to you. It's disappointing. Hold on, I have it on my computer. Okay, yeah, another good one. I don't know how it just missed. I actually thought you might pick this one, although I wanted to hear how you rank the Houston guys. Bregman. Freeman,
oh, I forgot to put it down. I missed it. Yep.
Bregman, Freeman, and Clevenger.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been mine. I would have stuck with Acuna, Lindor, Flaherty.
Still very good, though, obviously.
No doubt about it. All right, moving on down the list. All right, so let's get into something that's a little less actual competition, a little bit more fun. What would be your all-time, I mean, you get all these guys at their peak, 4-man home run derby, and which park would you have them playing at?
So, kind of a cheap answer for what park I'd have them playing at. It's Coors.
Same here.
Like, you see the most power, balls fly. Why wouldn't it be Coors? Sometimes you can overthink things, right? Like, why wouldn't you just say Coors? I mean, right?
Well, I was thinking like some parks, like it's cooler to see where the home runs land. And like there's like, some, like a monument at 500 feet. You want to see if somebody can hit the warehouse in Camden Yards, or you want to see if, somebody can get it up to the 5th deck in Toronto or something like that. But I couldn't come up with anything interesting enough that it beat the extra 30 to 40 feet on some of these home runs in Coors Field.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's ultimately what we want to see. So I guess I'll go first with this one. So starting off, and I'm a big fan. So even though I think he's a overrated guy right now, first guy I thought of was Giancarlo Stanton. Massive power. I mean, I feel like in any home run derby, he's just got to be on your list. Because a home run derby is the type of thing where as these athletes and baseball players have gotten bigger and stronger, it's just, get more guys that you want to see in a home run derby. Excuse me. I don't know about how you feel about Stanton.
Yeah, I have Stanton in mind. I thought about him and I thought about Aaron Judge because Aaron Judge is actually hitting the ball farther than Stanton when we saw them go up against each other. But I've seen Stanton do it a few times and it's been incredible. So I left Judge off, but I did include Stanton.
I actually had Judge on mine and took him off for my last guy, like at the last minute. So I'm with you 100% there. My next guy, you won't have this guy, but I went kind of on there's so many guys you could pick for this. Like ton of home run hitters throughout our lifetime. So I wanted to go like a personal feel. Albert Bell, one of my favorite all-time Indians. Would love to see him in this home run derby. I think he could win the home run derby and then point to his muscles. I love Albert Bell when he's with the Indians. I'd want to see him in this derby. Next guy who I think you probably do have is Barry Bonds.
I do not.
Ooh, okay. Crazy amount of power. Hard not to have a guy that hit, 800 home runs in 1 year. So for me, Bonds is in this. And the next guy who I don't think you have at all, kind of a sleeper for this contest, who I always heard could win a home run derby, and I'd love to see him here.
Ichiro?
Yep. Ichiro.
All right. Well, as soon as you said that, I knew you were going.
Yep.
So Ichiro, Bonds, Stanton, and Albert Bell. So yeah, ours are much different. I do have Stanton, but I went with a little bit more of the classic winners of the home run derby. So the kid, Ken Griffey Jr., some of his home run derby performances were just that sweet swing when he was a little bit younger. You don't know how he hits the ball 500 feet because he's just not that big of a dude, but he does it.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of a hometown feel for me because he's a former Brewer, but he also put on some of the best shows in home run derby history, and that's Prince Fielder Jr.
I have thought of
Prince
him.
Fielder.
I thought about Prince Fielder. He made my honorable mention list with Judge.
Yeah, he was fun to watch.
Yes.
He's got that big boy swing, the way he unloads on it and stuff like that. He can hit the ball as far as pretty much anybody with the exception of maybe Stanton and Judge. And then the last guy up, I don't care about steroids here. It doesn't make a difference to me, so I went with Mark McGwire.
Yeah, I thought about McGwire. Clearly, I don't care either. That's why I went with Bonds.
Yeah, again, I like Barry Bonds as an option, but, I watched him in the home run derby once or twice. He wasn't as good at it as he was at just playing the game of baseball.
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean that he couldn't be a third time,
No, exactly. He did win it once.
So
he had a couple of disappointing performances as well where it just didn't seem like that was his bag. Like, his bag is just being the greatest hitter I've ever seen. Doesn't necessarily translate to home run derby, i.e. Mike Trout's never won it either.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
So I remember watching McGwire put on a show in Fenway that was magical. And another guy that really considered was Sammy Sosa because he put on a couple of shows as well.
I went to the home run derby in Cleveland, and McGwire put on a show.
Yeah, and that wasn't even the one that he won.
No, it wasn't one that he won.
Okay. All right. Next up, let's move down this one. Who would be your GOAT non-Wisconsin athlete to have a beer with? So because you put the word current in there, I couldn't go to the guy that I would actually pick. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, and that's why I said current, and it was Gronk.
Yeah. Who would you rather have a beer with than Rob Gronkowski? Scratch that. I'd rather have 12 beers with Rob Gronkowski than have one beer with almost any other athlete. He just seems like he is just a fun guy to, have drinks with. So because the answer is going to be different, but I'm going to go with LeBron James. I don't even know if the dude drinks alcohol, but quite frankly, just to be in the essence of greatness like that.
He does drink alcohol, and yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I almost went with no LeBron for your answer. For me, I kind of went off the beaten path. A guy that I just went with the first name that came to mind, and it was Joel Embiid.
Okay. I can see how he'd be fun. He's obviously hilarious on social media.
Yeah, I think he's just a fun guy. I'd love to kind of pick his brain and hang out with him when the, maybe cameras weren't on him.
Yeah, you could have put the no LeBron caveat in there because the greatness that he transcends would be really interesting and to be able to talk to. But I thought about guys like Mike Trout. I'm like, I don't know if Mike Trout is interesting enough.
Yeah.
I don't know that he isn't, but I don't know enough to think that it would be that much fun.
LeBron almost belonged in the non-current players because I knew that would be your answer. He's been in the league for 30 years. So yeah. We see that eye to eye. I was going to pick LeBron too, but I couldn't just be cheap like that. So
yeah, and for you as an Ohio guy, same reasons I can't pick, Giannis or Christian Yelich or Aaron Rodgers. You
exactly
still can't pick LeBron, even though he's not a current Cleveland player.
I agree with you 100% there.
So, all right, next up. Okay, I'm going to let you go first on this one. Who would be your Super Bowl sleeper this year, assuming that the 2021 season actually plays out?
This one was kind of an easy one. Well, not easy one. I thought about it for a while, but this team is a team I like a lot. The Eagles. I think that they play in a weak division. They're finally going to be healthy. I think that we saw last year them losing Deshaun Jackson was big for them. He'll finally be back. We saw the emergence of Greg Ward. Maybe he can be something, but they have a number 1/2 in Deshaun Jackson, a deep threat. I think they're in prime position to build throughout the draft. They still have Alshon Jeffrey. They've got a couple good backs, one particularly in Miles Sanders. This is a team that's been good on defense. The Eagles are my sleeper team. And above all else, they've got a quarterback that I think can be an MVP of the league in Carson Wentz. So I'm buying the Eagles. I think they come back and definitely make the playoffs this year.
All right. So I thought about them because looking through it, I'm like, well, who can be considered a sleeper, right? Like the Ravens and the Chiefs aren't. The Saints can't be a sleeper. San Francisco can't. Seattle can't because they're there every year. Green Bay was in the NFC Championship game last year, so they're not. Obviously, people aren't sleeping on Tampa Bay, so I'm like, where do I go? So I went with Buffalo.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to come out of the AFC because outside of those two good teams, there really isn't a lot of, anybody else you have to worry about. New England, I mean, if they had any version of a quarterback, I'd love to see what Belichick can do, but I don't have a lot of confidence in them right now. We saw Josh Allen get a lot better year 1 to year 2. They added Stephon Diggs. You got Singletary in year 2. There's a lot to like about Buffalo. And I think the hardest part for Buffalo is, do they have to beat both Baltimore and Kansas City, or can the playoffs shake out where they only have to beat one of those teams? Because if it's just one game, it's a lot easier than trying to have to get by both of those teams next year.
For sure. I thought about Buffalo. They're kind of the popular choice right now. I can also see them struggling this year. Like, how much does Stephon Diggs really add? Maybe he adds a lot. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's like not happy there in Buffalo, where a lot of guys don't seem to be happy. Who knows? I get Buffalo. They were on the up and up last year. They almost won that playoff game against Houston. Now they add a number one wideout in Diggs, already with John Brown. They've got a running back we really like in Singletary. Solid defense. I get why you went there. But yeah, it is tough. Like, who is a sleeper? Like, Philly isn't a sleeper, but to win the Super Bowl, I don't think most people have them winning the Super Bowl. Just like
no, I don't think they'd be in most people's top 5, and that's kind of what I considered. Like, I don't know, like my Packers would be in a lot of people's top 5, but I certainly don't consider them a sleeper, being in the NFC Championship last year, having a Hall of Fame quarterback and stuff like that. So, I mean, the only other team that I really even thought about was Arizona.
They're not a sleeper either, though. After getting Hopkins, they're like the same thing as Tampa Bay.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody would put Hopkins and Brady in the same thing. And I don't think a lot of people would put like Arizona in their top 5. Like, even though I don't think Tampa Bay is going to win the Super Bowl, I'm not poo-pooing that maybe I've been wrong and Tom Brady's been the driving force and he, leads Mike Evans and those boys to the championship this year.
Okay, I agree. But like, on that same token, like, do you think Arizona's going to be good this year?
I think that they should fight for a playoff spot, but I don't like lock them in necessarily as like this huge jump because he's still only a second-year quarterback. And I like Hopkins, but a point you made like 2 years ago that I've thought about more and more. Number one wide receivers don't equate to championships. They just don't.
They just don't. And like, they do remind me a lot of the Browns going into last year.
Sure. So, I mean, I don't know. I thought about them, but again, I definitely went with Buffalo over them.
Like, they also play in a tough division, man. Like, they probably surpassed the Rams with all their roster moves, but the Seahawks and 49ers, even the Rams still will be solid.
Should be the best division in football.
Yeah. Although the Rams could be not good. I could see that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know. Goff takes a lot of crap. He's still not a bad quarterback. They still got, the best defensive player in football. Even without Brandon Cooks, they still have their best 2 wide receivers and Robert Woods and, Cooper Kupp. I think it's a nice bounce back season for them. I don't think they go 12-4, 13-3, but I think they're fighting for a playoff spot.
I could see them being a sleeper team if you like them.
That's a good way to look at it. I can't argue with that. That makes sense to me.
Maybe everyone, like, I'm not going to be shocked if they're better than Arizona, but I'm not going to be shocked either way. That's why the NFL is so intriguing because, like, from year to year, things change a lot with most teams.
No doubt about it. All right, next question, fellas. What one change would you make to each DFS sport? So let's start with NFL. I'll give mine, then you can go second. And I thought about this question long and hard. And there was 2 things that I came up with that I would like to see. One, I'd like to see a second quarterback on the DraftKings roster. There's too many weeks where I think one quarterback becomes massive chalk. And I'd like to see the variation of a 2-man combination. I think it could add to the game. we have 2 running backs. Why not 2 quarterbacks?
I love it.
And the other one, so I've talked about this. We go back a couple of years ago, I will put my cash game record up against any DFS tout in the industry. The last 2 years, not nearly as good.
I know.
And what I've figured out is that the touchdown equity, when I was winning, 4 out of 5 DFS slates, I felt like my guys were always scoring touchdowns. This year, or the last 2 years, I keep getting wide receivers who go for like 8 and 100, and then they get no scores. But then meanwhile, another chalk wide receiver catches 2 balls for 12 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I would think maybe if we cut the touchdown point totals in half or something like that. I don't know the exact number I'd want to go with, but maybe devaluing the touchdown, which are a little bit more erratic.
That was the exact one. That was mine exactly, devaluing touchdowns. A half is too much. But maybe like 3/4 of what it is now, at least taking like a point away.
4 instead of 6, maybe.
That's just like DFS is all about like the big plays, the touchdowns, the home runs. That's just what it is. So I agree with you. That would be my one change. I love your idea of 2 quarterbacks. That just didn't come to mind for me.
Yeah, and again, I don't. It's still, we're all playing on an equal playing field, but I think it would help to slightly discourage the luck factor a little bit. And again, when you're getting lucky and winning, like I was for years, and I felt great about it, you don't notice the flaws in it as much as when you're getting really unlucky and losing. And ultimately, luck plays a factor in DFS. We all know this, but I think it would lessen it just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe kind of kill the massive highs and lows a little. All right, let's move over to the next sport I went with. Very much in the same fashion for baseball, I would like to find a way to both devalue the home run and the strikeout just a little bit so that you're not only picking high strikeout pitchers that, if you pick a guy, like let's say if you pick Giolito and he goes 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, but only strikes out 3. Meanwhile, Clevenger gives up 8 runs, but strikes out 10 guys. Their point total should be much different, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I don't know about home runs because, like, if a guy hits, if the bases are loaded and he hits a 3-run triple, the points are what, like 3 points off from a home run, and he should get a couple more points for a home run.
Sure, but like I don't know. For me, like I don't know exactly the breakdown I'd want to go with, but if a guy goes 3 for 3 with 3 singles and RBI, and then he walks, and that gives you 13 points. Meanwhile, this other dude strikes out 4 times but hits a solo home run. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like the guy who got on base 4 times should maybe get a little bit ahead of a solo home run.
Well, maybe what really you would want is like maybe adding strikeouts as like a negative.
Maybe. I just felt like the home run was
not perfect.
Big.
I went different in baseball. I think you'll like where I went in baseball.
All right, what'd you go with?
This is the rule change I'd want if I could only have one in all the sports. Rain delays and postponements. They should make it so like you can swap out players until the actual first pitch of the game is pitched. So if there is a rain delay, postponement, your guys don't lock until there's an actual first pitch. So you can change them out. And if there's rain delays and consistent rain delays and you want to risk it, you can risk it. But you can also swap them out.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. That makes sense to me. No doubt about
it. Just because that doesn't happen. That's one of the most frustrating things in all of DFS is if whatever it is.
Like if the Indians on the East Coast are in a rain delay and it's going on for 2 hours and you don't know if it's going to play or not play, but then you find out it's canceled, you can swap to West Coast players?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely on board with that. All right, last one up would be the NBA. The NBA didn't have as easy of a swap for me. Like, I wish there was something you could do with guys like, all of a sudden finding out LeBron's out. But I just didn't know how you could circumvent the rules there or what would make this better for all the sits and late scratches. I just couldn't come up with any kind of rule. That's where I'd love to go, but I don't know what could fix it. I didn't have anything. So ultimately, I went with lessening the total players per game that you can use, and it might even be slate dependent depending on if it's a 2-gamer or an 8-gamer, so that overtime games aren't the really only way to win GPPs.
Okay, I mean, I get that. I don't know if I agree with it. I don't disagree with it. For me, I kind of went the other way around it. No late swap. Just like,
Yeah, I'm totally good. You know, I don't like late swap because it helps you some days, hurts you other days. But I hate having to pay attention all night long. I have a life.
exactly. So that's it for me. Also, I like the other DFS sports better. So for me, no late swap in NBA is ideal.
Yeah, I mean, I love NBA DFS. You know that, but it is labor intensive.
Yeah, very much so.
It's fun because it's constant action, but man, there's so much that goes into it. And with the way that the NBA plays,
Well,
I mean, it's been an improvement this year that they have to come out with starting lineups a half hour early. But like trying to make these last minute decisions sucks.
it's also like, and there's nothing you can change about this, but NBA is so like labor intensive and tricky and frustrating because like we can do this all day and one piece of news comes out and it changes everything.
Definitely. And there's just, there's so many variables. Again, then you just throw in like foul trouble and blowouts into the equation. Like there aren't a lot of blowouts in football where guys don't play in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? Unless Baltimore is beating Cincinnati 40-0, Lamar Jackson's out there. I mean, how many minutes does he lose on a yearly basis or whoever it might be? It's not a lot. Meanwhile, if you go take a look at Milwaukee with Giannis or LA with LeBron, like if they win by 30, you get hurt by that.
Yeah, agreed.
So it's just another thing that just makes it more and more difficult. There's so many more equalizers than there used to be. Even just from when NBA DFS started, the NBA has changed so much over the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This one is just a question for you because, as most of you guys know, I just don't watch very much college football. But with the draft coming up, anybody or any couple of players that you're real excited to see what they do in the NFL?
Yeah, bunch. Well, quite a few. It's a really heavy, loaded wide receiver draft. So, first off, who I'm really excited to see is CeeDee Lamb coming from Oklahoma. Will be a top, 15 pick for sure. Really excited to see where he goes. It's going to be explosive. Jerry Jeudy from Alabama will also be a top 15 pick, probably. One of the best route runners I've ever seen. He's just awesome. Henry Ruggs, also from Alabama, and he's one of the fastest guys in the draft. I think he ran like a 4.2 something 40, crazy fast. A guy that I think is getting slept on, wide receiver from Colorado, Laviska Shenault. Really intrigued to see where he goes. I think he can be a immediate impact guy depending on where he lands. As is the case with a lot of these guys. We talk about that a lot. A lot of it depends on where they go. Would be remiss to make this list and not bring up Joe Burrow. Really just intrigued to see how he is in the NFL. A lot of people are talking about him as like a can't-miss prospect. He was certainly that last year. I don't think Cincinnati is some like dead spot that people make it out to be. Like Cincinnati is not like some black hole. I know they haven't been good like recently, but I don't think it's a black hole. I think that they can be fine. Really interested to see if Joe Burrow can be the leader of that organization. And then a couple more. Michael Pittman from USC, just a solid wide receiver. He'll probably go early in round 2, but you never know. This draft could play out weird. And then ultimately, who I'm really interested in seeing, the number 1, no doubt, is whoever the Browns pick, because we need to hit on these picks, pick 10th overall. And that's who I'm really interested to see, as I'm sure you can understand.
Makes a lot of sense to me. All right, moving on down the list. Favorite DFS roster in any sport? So I answered this 2 ways. One, for me, like I wanted to take the Wisconsin aspect out of the equation. It's always more fun to root for your team. So I love to roster Aaron Rodgers, Christian Yelich, Giannis Antetokounmpo, for example. But the guy for me that can't miss for me and did the job for me every time. So he was the first person that came to mind last year, and people kept refusing to pay for him until late in the season, was Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I get that.
I was trying to think of like who hasn't done me dirty at any point, and Lamar Jackson was the first name that came to mind.
I get that. I mean, it's hard because he's only been viable for like 1 year, but I get that. I mean, he was really good for you last year. I know you liked him in year-long fantasy too, so
Yep.
I'm not surprised you went there. Can you guess?
Who'd you go with?
Can you guess?
Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, that is where I went, and just because he's the first guy that came to mind.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you asked me like what my favorite DFS moment was, and it was winning that GPP in basketball, and he's the reason why. So that's what I thought about. Although, really looking at that question and picking it apart, like I don't love rostering him because he's so unreliable. But, you know, it just depends on how you look at the question, right?
Right. Anybody who netted you thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in one night will always be on your good side.
Precisely.
All right. Next up, any sporting event ever, what would you go to? So, again, these questions can be very easy to answer if you're just like, well, duh, for me, it's going to be the Packers Super Bowls, right? Like, I would love to go to either of those. Probably the more recent one against Pittsburgh. But I mean, I'll take the Brett Favre Super Bowl over the Patriots as well. But I wanted to give an answer that wasn't just the obvious, your favorite team winning a championship. And so I thought about this for a while. Tried to think about historic events. I tried to think about what was the great game. And ultimately, my answer went in a completely different route than I ever expected it to. I would want to be at the Pacers-Pistons game when Artest and those guys went into the stands. I'd like to be close enough that I was up close, but far enough away I wasn't one of the dudes that got their butts beaten in.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like there's nothing else that's happened like that in our lifetime. And it would be one of the craziest things to see. Like, imagine being like 6 rows away from the guy getting his ass beaten by Ron Artest.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember that. Like, I remember where I was, like the Malice at the Palace.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the word I was looking for. I knew there was like, I'm like Rumble and the Bumble. Like, what was it again? Malice in the Palace. Thank you.
Yeah, the Malice at the Palace, man. That was just an all-time bad look for the NBA. I'll just say
yes,
that.
it was. Very much for many years.
And a bad look for Detroit. Bad combination of the two. Interesting. I don't disagree with that. My mind just didn't go there, although
I was thinking about this for 5 to 10 minutes before that's where I came to, because I was like, which game would stick out? And outside of my Wisconsin games, there wasn't one that stuck out. And then I thought about that. I'm like, that would be like the craziest thing to see up close and personal.
Agreed. So I also, Cavs game 7 is the easy answer, but I didn't want to go there. So the two other ones that really my brain went to are I'd either want to be at one of the Dream Team games, like when they won gold, or at one of their practices.
That'd be cool.
And then also, like, I just think this would be really cool. Now, either one where he, like, just completely dominated or where he bit Holyfield's ear. I'd love to be at a Mike Tyson boxing match.
Yeah, that would be also kind of exciting. I'm not a huge boxing fan, but I remember being a kid and Tyson was incredible. And the way that he would beat people down so quickly like that was really exciting.
I remember seeing him at the mall because he was, like, from Ohio. I saw him at the mall one time when I was younger, and he was, like, a really nice guy. So yeah, if you're watching this, I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's if you want to listen to something funny, go YouTube Tom Segura meeting Mike Tyson and listen to his bit about meeting Mike Tyson on a plane. It's awesome.
Sweet.
All right, so let's get away from sports for a minute and we'll kick it a little bit. Something different. So I went to 5 foods that are relatively popular, and I want you to rank them in order of your favorites. And the answers are, again, tacos, hamburgers, spaghetti and garlic bread, pizza, and buffalo wings. How would you rank these bad boys?
So I'm just going to start by saying that, like, my number 1 and 2 are pretty good, like separate from the other 3.
Okay.
Number 1 is like a definite number 1 for me. Like, not even a question. It's wings with blue cheese.
Okay, that's what I thought you were going to say. And good call on the blue cheese.
Not even like a question. So that's my number 1 here. My number 2, I don't think that you're going to think I have this as my number 2, but it's definitely my number 2, and that's spaghetti and garlic bread.
Okay.
Big fan. Big fan. I'm just going to put it out like that.
I love spaghetti and garlic bread. It's my 5. But I didn't know if like I could throw it in there as a little bit of a sleeper. And we make that all the time at my house. It's one of the few meals that I make pretty successfully.
It's, even if you take out the garlic bread, I like all sorts of different pastas. So that's like definitely my number 2. My number 3, which kind of fits into spaghetti and garlic bread, is pizza. So depending on the time, sometimes I'm more into pizza than I'm not. I just feel like a lot of the pizza places in Cleveland leave a lot to be desired. So it's just, me and Sam disagree on what pizza we like, so we don't rarely get it. But it is solid number 3 for me, and I do like it a lot. Who doesn't like pizza?
So you don't really watch How I Met Your Mother, but one of the main characters is from Cleveland, And then obviously the show takes place in New York. New York is known for pizza. Cleveland isn't. But when one of his buddies from Cleveland comes to visit him, he says, I just got to get the hell out of here. I'm really craving a slice of Cleveland pizza or something like that. And it just made me laugh when you mentioned that.
Well, the problem is there is like a pizza place that I love in Cleveland, and it's like the best pizza place ever. But Sam does not like it, of course. So rarely do we get it, and it sucks for me. So that's number 3 for me, and I like pizza a lot. The next 2 are definitely lower on my list, and I've started to eat more tacos. But the biggest problem with burgers and tacos for me is that I don't love red meat. So when I first saw the spaghetti, I thought it said spaghetti and meatballs, and it was not number 5 because I don't love meatballs. But then I read it again, was really intrigued and surprised and happy, and said garlic bread, moved all the way up to number 2 for me. So we're going to go pizza as 3, then burgers, then tacos. Lately, I've been eating some tacos, which I never used to do. I like them, but just it's my 4 and 5. And again, all good foods. Let me hear your list.
For me, number 1 is tacos. I consider myself a taco connoisseur. I could eat Mexican food every single day. And when I'm talking tacos, I mean, I don't care if I'm making them at home, if I'm slumming it at Taco Bell, going to Chipotle, or going to any one of the number of authentic Mexican restaurants around the Green Bay area. We have a very high Hispanic population, so they've definitely brought in some real nice, authentic food around here. I love tacos. I don't, beef, chicken, shrimp tacos. I like some of the more authentic different kinds that we have around here. I like the chorizo. I love tacos. Doesn't matter what kind they are. I love tacos.
I get that, man. You got me wanting tacos right now. So
number 2, wings, and wings pizza are 2-3, and it was a battle. I mean, this is right now a battle royale. This is who do you want to roster? James Harden and Russell Westbrook. It's a tough decision. I went wings pizza. I eat pizza a lot more than wings, which is why I was thinking in my mind, wings seems like more of a delicacy right now.
I get that. When you eat pizza, like recently, is it like frozen pizza, like Domino's?
Yes. So the key, the way pizza works out in my house is Jack's frozen, Little Caesars $5 hot and ready if we're on the run because the kids will eat that. And if you get the thin crust, it's not too bad. Pizza Hut has a deal where it's a 3-topping large pizza for $7.99 you can pick up. So usually if it's just the kids and I will get that. And then if we want good pizza, there's a place called Luigi's around here. There's a handful of them throughout the Northeast Wisconsin area. It's different nuclear families within a larger family. They are full out Italian. I sold the guys payroll processing back in the day for the local one. Phenomenal. To me, top number 1 pizza place in Green Bay.
Okay. So it sounds like you got options at least. I don't know why. Frozen pizza, I'm just like not a big fan of. Like, I just don't love it.
Jack's does it for me. That's my favorite of the frozen. Not that I've had all of them, but I mean, give me Jack's over any of the other big brands, Red Baron, Tombstone. For me, it's a distant first place.
I like Red Baron. I like that. What's it called? The
DiGiorno?
No, I don't like. No, I like the Stouffer's, not deep dish, but
French bread.
French, yeah, I like that.
Okay. And then I put burgers is 4, and I love hamburgers, guys. Again, they're awesome. These other foods are delicious too. So I mean, it's 4th place, but it's still awesome. And I put spaghetti and meatballs last, or spaghetti and garlic bread last. We eat that around here all the time. It's a really easy food. It's also super cheap, and for like people who have kids, I can pick up a pound of ground turkey for $2. Spaghetti sauce is like $1. Noodles is like $1, and then you can get garlic bread for $2. So it's like I can feed the kids and myself for like $6. I can make it easily. I mean, it's just an easy one to make if you got kids around the house.
It's even if you don't have kids.
Yeah.
I like all sorts of different pastas. I don't even like red sauce that much. I like pasta with butter. I know I eat like a 10-year-old sometimes, but it's easy and it works.
Or like a 12 or 11-year-old, because that's what my son eats a lot of. He has like stacks of ramen noodles. So if he wants to make himself his own lunch, it's ramen. Otherwise, he has me making like just butter noodles all the time.
Something that you don't have on here because it doesn't like fit this list, but would be my number 2 probably behind wings is like breakfast.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, it wouldn't surpass wings for me, but it would be my number 2.
You know, I'm not a great cook, but the 3 meals that I do around the house as kind of staples are spaghetti and garlic bread, homemade tacos. I always have chicken on hand and all the fixing, tomatoes, lettuce, sour cream, shells to make tacos. And then I make breakfast at least once a week for the kids. To be healthier, though, I've switched from bacon to turkey sausage to go with eggs and hash browns and everything that goes along with it.
Nice. Usually, you know, it depends. For us, just usually we've been having like eggs and a little whatever meat, eat a little bacon or sausage, and then just toast. So nothing too extraordinary.
I make a mean omelet as well. That's definitely one of the other things I actually have within my repertoire.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm a meat lover's omelet. Don't put any vegetables in there for me. Vegetables don't go in omelets or in pizza. I believe in that very harshly or very firmly.
I like onions.
What's that?
I like onions a lot on both of those things.
Well, that's the wrong answer. It's not up for debate. This is not an opinion, Bellman. Onions are trash.
I don't. Oh my God! See, we have such. It's funny how different our palates are. I mean, even just like in that ranking. So you have your number 1 is my number 5. And onions.
I'm also now thinking of us going out for wings when I visited you in Cleveland, and you tried to eat one that I ate, and you were like in tears, and the waitress is like, "Are you okay, hon?"
And I like hot foods too. I don't like crazy hot foods. That wing was like really hot. Like, I mean, it was really hot. I don't like hurting myself when I eat, but I definitely thought about that when I said wings, because wings can be too hot. It's the risk you take. And the other thing about wings, which suck, is like they get your hands messy. But, you know, if you really are opposed to that, get some boneless wings.
Yeah, I mean, I get people who are wings purists and only like the bone ones, but like the boneless is just much easier to eat.
I mean, I definitely like bone in much better than boneless, but like I also like my hands being clean and not smelling like wings forever. So sometimes boneless work.
Yeah, it's just easier to eat it with a fork. For me, it doesn't taste any different. I get the purist aspect of it. So when it comes to blue cheese against ranch, I am an absolute wings purist on that one. I think blue cheese is vastly superior. Now, I know I live in the upper Midwest where people put ranch dressing on everything, but give me blue cheese over ranch all day long.
I remember we had that combo when I came to Green Bay. We had some good wings when we were in Green Bay. I need to get back there. Those wings were good.
I'm trying to think. I think we're at a place called Anduzzi's right by the stadium, if I remember correctly. I know we were right by Lambeau. I just can't remember which restaurant we were at. Yeah, I was in Anduzzi's.
That was fun.
So, yeah, funny how the longest discussion was about which different types of food that it was that we could eat. So, I mean, you know how much...
Over here, man.
Yeah, I just had a boring sandwich. Kind of feel like having some better food right now.
So funny, like in the mid, like since we started talking about that, I've texted Sam like the 3 places that I like want to eat, like the taco place, the pizza place, one other one.
We're talking about like the spice aspect, and when I go out to eat for like authentic Mexican food, or like if there's a Thai place that did this to me once too. So I always order everything like specifically as spicy as you can make it, because I don't have your typical white boy palate. And then, you know, especially being in the upper Midwest, they're always like, "Oh, are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure. Like I asked for it on purpose, all right? Like, no, you don't need to coddle me. I'm not your typical white guy. Please give me it as spicy as you can make it." And then, like, as soon as I get it, I can always see, like, there's usually somebody that, like, works there, like peering out from me from behind the kitchen to see if I'm, like, going to start crying or something like that. Like, I'm like, no, I can really handle this. I'm not just that typical guy that asked for it and then he's in tears 2 minutes later.
I am that guy.
So, yeah, anyways, guys, you got anything else to add into this one?
No, man. I'm hungry. I know that.
So anybody watching, like, we're going to do these a lot of different days out of pure boredom. If you have anything you want us to talk about, like, bring us some questions. Instead of us just thinking about them, we'd be more than happy to play around with them. They can be, you know, any of the sports. They can be DFS. They can be fun stuff like rank your food or whatever. We're just desperate for stuff to talk about and enjoy giving any kind of entertainment that we can give right now.
Amen to that.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Have a good one, guys.